Welcome to part 2 of reseller anxiety management.
Next up is anxiety from no sales. So it's been a few days and you have no sales and you're freaking out and you're super anxious and you're questioning the reselling game altogether, and well, we've all been there. So I no longer stress over this situation though, because I've realized that there are many reasons beyond my control that there could be no sales. One would be maybe a glitch on eBay. Don't know, that could happen. There's a lot of reasons why you may not have sales. I have a prior video that talks about sales slumps, and I think that the strategies listed in there will really help as far as tactical strategies to help boost your sales again. And some of those are like relisting in your Poshmark Closet and having a sale in your eBay store, and look at my other video for more tips on that. I think you can also look at just really honing in your energies on things that, again, you have control over. Sometimes we don't have control over no sales, and we've done literally everything we can possibly think of. And so then what I tend to do is try to take a step back and look at what I can do to improve my business. Being as Poshmark sales are one small aspect of what I am doing as a reseller and as a business person here, an entrepreneur. If I'm not getting sales on Poshmark, I might shift gears and start working on eBay, or I might work on improving photography across the board on all of my platforms. Or I might talk with a friend and ask them to take a peek at all of my closets and store links and ask how I can improve upon that. I might do some YouTube video watching to really get inspired and get some, new tips on how to really make things work and boost my closet up. I might ask some friends to share my closet and interact with me in the Poshmark app to reboost the algorithm. Let's see. I think the other piece is really avoiding the comparison on social media, especially when it comes to package stacks and even hauls. Just don't do it. Like, we all have our own journey, and the less you spend your time comparing to what so-and-so with a lot more followers than you, or this person that lives with 7 bins locations next to them can do, you really just need to make sure that your own journey, the only person you're comparing yourself to is the person you were yesterday and who you want to be tomorrow. Aside from that, you will give yourself anxiety by comparing, and I don't know what else to say. Like, you just can't do it. If you do it, you'll get anxiety. It's just the way it is. You can also, if you're Posh exclusive only, you could consider cross-posting and taking items to consignment. Like I'd mentioned before, you could take inventory and items that are currently in your closet both, take that stuff to consignment to kind of give your closet a reboost, like start over again, rotate things out. I'll just let things sit for as long as it takes to sell them. So that's not a strategy that I utilize, but I know it works for a lot of people who start to feel anxious about inventory that sits for a long time, unlisted and listed both. Next up would be boundary and lifestyle anxiety. And I think that this is really important to tap into because I know it does affect me personally at times. And this would be related to the lifestyle that resellers have. And that really does include being on your phone 24/7, being on your computer 24/7. And I think it's very imperative to discuss with the people that you spend your day-to-day lives with what reselling requires and what your workload is, whether it's part-time or full-time, and kind of how you incorporate that in your life. So for me, that took a great deal of talking with my family about, look, this is a 24/7 job. Additionally, this is me starting a full-time business. And so if you think of a restaurant or a small business in town that starts up, the first 2 years are painful. They're exhausting. There's a lot of extra work. The kids are helping out. Like, you don't have a social life, and it's no different from like with reselling full-time. Don't let social media fool you into thinking that this is some easy job for any one of us. Side note, because it's not. It's really, really hard. That being said, I think most resellers understand that, but friends and family may not really understand the requirements. And I think even my husband and kids didn't really get that. I don't even know if I got it when I started full-time. But what we have really tried to do as a family is create like some sacred times and some family times that just no one is allowed to be on phones, and that includes me. And it's painful. Like, Christmas was painful, and I love working and earning money, and I love what I do, and it's really hard to break away at times. So have your family check you if you're slipping on that, and just make sure that you're taking those social media breaks. Set up no phone times within your family time, where you can really be completely attentive to the people that you love and away from your work. And that also gives you the feeling of taking a break and will keep you from feeling that like I'm just always working kind of feeling, because as much as we all love this, I can't help but say that like sometimes I'm getting burnt the F out because I'm working so much and I'm not giving myself the breaks that I should be. And that's because I have lacked the ability to set a boundary with myself, to say I'm tired, or I've worked too many hours today, or my family misses me and I need to just put the shiz down and go live my life. So I'm making it a 2020 goal for me personally to work on that aspect of my life, so that way my anxiety related to feeling like I'm always working and my family's anxieties to feeling like I'm always working as well can kind of be remedied a little bit. And because I mean the whole point of being at home is so I can spend time with my family, and although I do drop my phone for any activity, any performance my kids have, any games, day to day, I still feel like I'm working a little bit too much in my phone when I don't want to be. So also, if you feel anxiety when you're out and about because you have your face in your phone at a soccer game or a family gathering, and someone guilts you for that, that's a them problem. Especially if you've provided education, especially if they know that this is your job. Do not let comments or, you know, little side jabs get to you if you are doing your job to provide for your family. And I have to say, I was a little bit of a judgy McJudgerson before I did this job. And when I would see people on their phone constantly, I pitied their kids. I'm like, oh, they must never pay attention to their children. Those were actual thoughts that I thought. Or like, gosh, is a whole family at this dinner table and at a restaurant, and they're all on their phones. And now I'm like, maybe it's a family of influencers. Like, I'm sorry, like, let's just put the judgments aside when it comes to that kind of stuff and try to work through it and help each other have boundaries, but also have respect for one another, that not every gig looks the same, and some of us might all be doing the same thing. Like, I'll tell you what, you could be sitting at a different dinner table and see a family of 4, my family, all look down at their phones, and it could be maybe because I'm like, oh my God, you guys, Poshmark just liked my post on Instagram. And they all want to go rush and see that to celebrate that with me. Or maybe it's, hey guys, I forgot to ask you earlier, I posted a new YouTube video. Could you go in there and give it a thumbs up for me and watch it later? It might not always be what it looks like from the outside looking in. Unless we educate our family and our friends and those people close to us whose opinions do matter, they may also be on that judgy end of the spectrum. So explain to them what you need, and it will, I think, lend to better relationships, especially with the people that you live with. Like for me, that's been a huge thing. So last thing is just some miscellaneous tips to handle anxiety, because I don't want this video to get much longer. So let's talk about some of the other things that we can do to handle anxiety when we are feeling just like really super jittery and blah. Number 1, check your caffeine. This is my worst nemesis. And I'll be like exhausted, and so I'll chug a bunch of caffeine, and then I'm super racy and overwhelmed, and I keep chugging caffeine, and then I can't sleep, and it's like this vicious cycle. And caffeine also has the tendency to mimic a lot of symptoms of anxiety, like increased heart rate. You can feel your heart pounding, you can get jittery. So check that caffeine intake at the door, yo, because that could definitely be what it is. I'm a big fan of traditional cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. So that is probably one of my favorite strategies for anxiety and depression, and I think it is one of the most broad spectrum treatments for both. So if you're feeling like you're in a position where you really need professional help and you don't know where to start, I would encourage looking at the Psychology Today website and looking for individuals who can treat anxiety, and specifically who offer cognitive behavioral therapy. If you don't know, Psychology Today has a great tool where you can search for mental health professionals in your area, and you can actually narrow it down by categories, insurance, and all sorts of other types of filters. And it's something that as a mental health professional, I have recommended time and again. So check that out if you're feeling like you need to talk to somebody in person, and maybe tap into some CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy. Additionally, some of you may have seen the Michael Phelps commercial where he talks about getting some online therapy, and that is a program referred to as Talkspace. Talkspace is kind of like an online therapy program. So for resellers and people who I feel like kind of live the lifestyle that we do, this might be a really good option. So it can be covered by some employee assistance programs. So if you have a spouse or a loved one that you're covered under their EAP, check out and see if Talkspace is covered. They have subscription plans, and you can pick varying levels of a subscription plan, and you fill out some questions and they kind of match a therapist based off your needs. So kind of like that Psychology Today search, but a little bit more in depth. And what's really good about it with Talkspace is you can set up structured appointments like once a week or once a month, or you can have a text message dialogue and they call it your therapy room or your room. And if you're having just like this breakdown moment, you can text your therapist, and you can also set up video chats. So I think that is an incredibly useful tool nowadays with technology, and also for individuals who are feeling like they're either homebound or you know, they're isolated for one reason or another, or they just don't want to do that traditional face-to-face therapy. This can be a really, really good option, and I've seen great successes in past jobs where I've referred people to similar, you know, video chat therapies. You can also look at, again, I'm going to repeat exercise because for me that has been one of the biggest anxiety relievers, and it helps me sleep better too. Also, mindfulness activities, daily affirmations, making sure you take social media breaks. So completely getting off of social media for a full day, including Poshmark and eBay and all of it. Just one full day. Just take a full day off. And that doesn't mean like at the end of the day you can't check it, but just like, and just take a full day and just don't do it. And you'd be surprised how much it really does kind of reset you mentally at times when you're feeling like super overwhelmed and anxious. And then also, I think one thing that's really, really important is to find other resellers who you feel like understand your journey. So there are types of resellers just for every type of person out there. So there's the part-time resellers, full-time resellers, there's the stay-at-home mom resellers that have little ones at home that have to work around nap schedules and tantrums and teething. And then there's moms like myself who have school-age kids that have to work around daily interruptions to be picked up at school because of social things, or rides to football games, and like the busy teenage not driving yet life. So there might be people that have the same like journey as you. Like I've found people who have autoimmune diseases and they know what that struggle looks like. So if you find other people in your network and you build a network of support of other people that get it, then you have people that you can go to and talk to when you're feeling incredibly anxious and need to step away, or, you know, need kind of like a mental health break. Okay, so last couple things. Let's talk about self-talk and kick my tripod again. So let's talk about self-talk. Self-talk has a lot of different names, but essentially we talk to ourselves. We talk to ourselves all day, every day. We talk to We talk to ourselves more than anyone else talks to us. Fact. All of us do. When you start to find yourself in a really big anxiety rut like this, I want you to, like I said before, really start checking your thoughts. And I don't mean like just random thoughts, like I mean every thought that comes through your head. Just start literally stopping yourself and asking yourself if that's facts, if it's true, if it's valid. You know, we're really big on fact checking right now with politics and whatnot, but I would encourage you to fact check yourself. Like, seriously, are the thoughts that you're having that are rolling through your mind, are those accurate, or do they need to be examined a little bit? In our house, when the girls were little, I would call those thought traps. And so that was just really to give the kids a visual of getting stuck in one thought that, you know, you could get stuck in, and then it pulls you in this anxiety rut and you can't get yourself out of it because each thought digs you a little bit deeper. And that really worked for my youngest, who struggled with anxiety when she was younger. A lot of times what we found when we started examining those thought traps together was that they were completely inaccurate, and they would just get her little head spinning and put her in a place that just wasn't healthy or productive, helping her learn how to recognize those thoughts and check them at the door. And so initially it's really helpful to just start checking every thought that enters your mind when you're starting to feel that way. Just really examine those thoughts and see if they're accurate. And I'm not talking about like, oh, that guy just cut me off in traffic, but like, what happens after that? Why is it my car? Why does everyone always pull out in front of me? Like, or what is it about today? Or like, where does your thought go after that? So I feel like one of the biggest things that I have been able to do to personally combat anxiety and to help my daughters combat anxiety in general, reselling or not, is really just to like regularly and consistently check your thoughts, question them a little bit more. The example that I give people when I'm talking about this and they're still not quite wrapping their mind around what they need to do is a classroom scenario. So I want you to visualize being in a classroom of people, and I don't care what you pick. You can pick college, elementary school, your favorite art class, I don't care. You're in a new exercise class. You're in a classroom setting, okay? It's dead quiet and everyone's working on something. And the instructor or leader says, hey, you, hey, come here. I need to talk to you real quick. Now, what is your first thought? Because a lot of people, including my daughter who struggled with anxiety, her first thought was that she was in trouble. That used to be my first thought if a teacher would say that to me. I was never in trouble. Ever. Like, I was such a good young kid. And when we talked about this with my daughter, I said, you know, how do you feel when a teacher does that? She goes, oh, I get really anxious, and I start running through my head like all these things, like, oh gosh, and all these what ifs. And so it was a really good example to give as far as like how an initial thought can then drive into other thoughts. Typically my initial thoughts when a teacher would call me up to the front was, oh my God, I'm in trouble. And that is immediately an incorrect thought and one that would produce anxiety. And then that thought would turn into a chain of thoughts of thinking of every action that I've done recently that could have gotten in trouble, if somebody could have misconstrued something that I could get in trouble for, did I not turn something in, did they mix me up for someone else, what did I do wrong? And then 9 times out of 10, it was something completely harmless, like, hey, is this your paper? Because most people, you know, everyone forgot to, or, you know, there's somebody who forgot to put their names on it, and it's you or this other person. You left your lunch card over here, or, you know, just like harmless things. That can be applicable in any area of our life. We have that like initial reaction to a situation, and even that can kickstart a slope of anxiety before we even realize that that first thought wasn't even entirely correct. So stopping that initial thought and checking at the door would look a little bit more like this. I need you to come here. And then I would be thinking, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Okay, wait a minute. Check yourself, Mandy. Have you done anything to get yourself in trouble? No. Have you been tardy? Have you turned anything late? No. This teacher actually likes you? Yes or no? Oh, this teacher freaking loves me. So what the heck's your problem? Go up to the front of the classroom. You see how like you're coaching yourself, checking yourself versus feeding and fueling an incorrect thought that gives you more physiological responses and in turn can actually perpetuate further anxiety. So check your thought traps, look at what those mean, check how you're talking to yourself. I often find that when I'm getting into anxious ruts, I have allowed myself to talk myself down, question myself, compare myself to others, and I've gotten stuck in some type of vicious cycle of thinking that is not healthy for myself. Not near as much bothers me anymore. I'm just gonna be real. Like, I'm still emotional, I'm still sensitive, and I love reselling, and it does cause me anxiety at times, but I am in a very, very peaceful place compared to where I used to be. And I really do attribute a lot of it to just examining what I'm saying to myself and getting in my own headspace and really checking my thoughts at the door. I know this was a lot to cover in a video, and it's kind of a lot of heavy stuff. So if you're still here with me, I really, really appreciate you for sticking around, and I hope that you found some kind of value out of my content today. And if there's a topic that you want to talk about related to self-care, self-help, growth, specific to reselling, I want to hear those things because I really want to build this into something that helps people feel empowered, better about themselves, and I think this is the way that resellers can really help each other and grow together, and rather than causing one another anxiety, helping to alleviate that. So this is my first attempt at doing that. And additionally, I have taken the time to create an Amazon list that I think has some amazing products for people who are looking to alleviate anxiety in different ways. So I've included a lot of my favorites, self-help books and mindfulness activities, as well as a lot of cool relaxing things like candles and bath bombs and essential oil diffusers and gratitude journals. So please do check out my link below, and I'm just going to pop up a few of those things and talk about them. Number one, I've included a lot of titles by Brene Brown, and I'm going to put her up here. And she is an LMSW and a PhD, and she's an expert in self-help. I have included multiple titles that I'm going to pop up here that I feel literally changed my life. Not only did it help me become less anxious, but it helped me become more courageous with just kind of examining my own feelings and really releasing a lot of shame that I think all of us can hold and harbor within ourselves that can contribute to anxiety and depression. So she is my hero. She's a life changer. And I think if you pick any one of these books that I'm popping up here, whether it's on Audible or a paperback, you will find seriously, I like ugly cried multiple times listening to this book, and there's other times where I was like, heck yes, girl. She's a fellow social worker, and I think she's truly trying to help people just break out of that shame cycle and really get, you know, to the best part of themselves by like just being very vulnerable and courageous and showing other people their worth. So some of my favorite titles of Brené's are Daring Greatly, Dare to Lead, The Gifts of Imperfection, The Power of Vulnerability. So check those out. And then I've also included a few sassy little like Zen journals, some sassy meditation exercises. I have a few things for people who are super short on time. So I have like a 1-minute gratitude journal that I've listed in there, some card decks that have daily affirmations, so you can pull out 1 card per day. I'm a huge believer in Epsom salt baths and bath bombs, and whether you're a guy or a girl, old or young, it's just a nice thing to do. So I've included my favorite like gift box of bath bombs, some Himalayan scrubs, and then just like to relax your atmosphere, I also included a few of my favorite essential oil products, oil diffusers that we do use in our house, and I do believe help to alleviate stress, and a few other things. So check them out through my Amazon affiliate link below. Let me know if there's other tried and true products that you use that you think are just absolutely amazing to help with anxiety. Also, let me know in the comments if there's something that you do particularly that you think is just like a great anxiety reliever. And I'd love to know if there's anything else specific to reselling that you are like, man, this is just stressing me out, and how do I deal with it? I'm here to help, and I'm really excited about this series. So thank you guys so very much for watching. If you would be so kind as to hit the subscribe button, if you have not already, I would greatly appreciate it. Before I go, the last thing I want to say is ultimately take a minute, no matter what, and remember why you started reselling. Make a list of your whys and put that somewhere. Reference your whys, because there are times that things get super stressful and we can lose sight of our whys. When you write that down and you go over why you're reselling, that can really help empower you and rejuvenate, kickstart that motivation again. So I had a really crappy anxiety producing week last week, and I legitimately took 2 days and spent it in bed. I did very minimal work. I binged watched movies. I cuddled my animals and my kids. I slept a lot, and I feel like a completely different human this week. So I'm really excited to share my knowledge and my love with you guys. Thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button, and stay tuned for future episodes of this series where I'm going to talk with you about how we can all improve ourselves and reach the best version of ourselves that we have ever seen together. And yeah. Oh, also peep out that zit that won't go away. Isn't that nice? That's it. That's all I've got, guys. So thanks so much for watching this super long video. I love you all. See you next time.